Hello everyone, my name is Josh and welcome back to my channel where I talk about what it's like to live with blindness. So a question I often get from people who are trying to understand what living with blindness is like is a question that generally asks, how are you able to do things? Because the idea that people have about losing their eyesight or being born blind in the first place is that it is massively inconvenient, and you know what? It's true. The world just isn't built for people like me, and so many things are just a little bit more difficult than they would be for anyone else. But these complications don't necessarily mean that every problem that we have as blind people need complicated solutions. And so in today's video, we're going over 8 small things in my life that I use every day that help me and make a big difference. So jumping in, we have number 1, sunglasses. We all know the stereotype, the blind person with the sunglasses, and the reality is there is a level of truth to blind people wearing sunglasses, but it might be for reasons that you wouldn't expect. There are, of course, people with eye conditions that make them hypersensitive to light, and so they wear sunglasses out of necessity in order to protect their eyes. There are also people who have eye conditions that can worsen with direct exposure to sunlight, and examples of these conditions include cataract, which is actually one of the reasons why I wear sunglasses. I actually have a little bit of cataract in both eyes, especially in my right eye, and so when I wear sunglasses, it protects it from the UV rays of the sun, which can make cataract worse. Another really great reason for wearing sunglasses is actually to be a bit of an antisocial dick. Okay, but in all seriousness, there are valid reasons that are related to socializing that can help blind people a lot when they wear sunglasses. The big one involves not having to look at people directly in the eye. As you can imagine, if you don't have eyesight, it can be a bit difficult to pinpoint where someone is and especially where their eyes are, and this can make eye contact very difficult. It's actually kind of a bit of a challenge for me to keep track of where the camera is. You might even notice that sometimes I'm not actually looking directly at the camera, and it's because of this reason. That's why I move so much actually, it's because it's hard to maintain eye contact with the camera. So if someone is, tired after a really long day, and they may not have the energy to keep up with keeping track of where everyone is and where their heads are and where they are facing, wearing sunglasses could be a really good way of making sure that they don't have to look people directly in the eye because of the way sunglasses look like when you're trying to maintain eye contact. Another good reason to keep the sunglasses on is that some people have eye conditions that make their eyes shake, and this is called nystagmus. So I actually have this a little bit, and so my eyes sometimes shake if I'm trying to focus my eyes on one specific point for a really long period of time, and this can be really distracting, and so keeping the sunglasses on can help minimize that kind of visual distraction of someone's eyes shaking while you're talking to them. And the last reason why some people might wear sunglasses is for cosmetic reasons. So some people have eye conditions which can result in very visible damage to the eyes. An example of this is that some people with a condition called glaucoma might have eyes which look like they're bulging, and so wearing sunglasses can hide that. Or in some cases, people might have eyes which look like they are sunken in or deflated, and again, sunglasses can hide that. Another thing that sunglasses can hide is recovery from eye surgery, especially when the eyes are super red and swollen. And so as you can tell, there are many different reasons why people with vision impairments or blindness might wear sunglasses. Number 2, a good computer keyboard. So specifically for people who are screen reader users like me, we use a lot of keyboard commands, keyboard shortcuts, and typing to get our work done. We don't actually even use a mouse because everything is accessible and navigable using the keyboard when we use a screen reader. So for that reason, getting a good keyboard is extremely important, which is why when I chose my laptop, the keyboard was a huge consideration. So this is my laptop. It's a Lenovo T14, and the Lenovo computers are especially well known for their great keyboard. I also have a mechanical keyboard from the company Leopold, which has Cherry MX Red switches. So having a laptop with a great keyboard or a mechanical one, if I want to take it a step further, just makes typing so much easier and smoother, and it's a seemingly insignificant thing that makes a really big difference. Number 3, beeping traffic lights. So not every country has this feature with their traffic lights, so I'll try to explain, but in all honesty, it's also kind of self-explanatory. Basically, a lot of the traffic lights here in Singapore, where I live, are outfitted with a little box that has a button, and when the traffic light is going, it will make a beeping sound. And this indicates to people like me that it's safe to cross. The intensity of the beeping can also vary in speed, with the faster it goes, meaning that it's getting closer and closer to the green man turning to red. As you can imagine, this is a huge boon to the safety for people with vision impairment when we're out crossing the road. One unfortunate thing about this system though, where I live, is that they turn off the beeping at night in order to avoid disturbing residents, but they not only turn off the beeping, they also turn off the vibrating, which yes, that box actually does vibrate when it beeps. So at night, it can be a little bit more hazardous for us to cross, which is why I would have to normally be a bit more patient when I'm crossing the road at night. One more fun fact about these beeping traffic lights, if you listen carefully in the song Bad Guy by Billie Eilish, you can actually hear that they sampled the use of one of these beeping traffic lights. Specifically, I think the one they used was from Australia, so that's a fun fact for you. Number 4, rubber bands and tape. So if I have two containers here, they look virtually identical. How can I tell one from the other when I can't read the labels on the bottle? These are my skin medication, and one is for the face and one is for the body. I'm not supposed to put the one for the body on the face, and so what I do is that for the one that I have that I put on my body, I actually use a rubber band. And this allows me to easily tell the difference between these two bottles of cream. So something simple like that can make a really big difference, not only for things like medication, including situations like cooking, organizing materials, and many more things. And as for Scotch tape, this can also be used to differentiate between objects. So for example, I recently got a microphone that isn't with me right now, but I'm just going to verbally explain it. I got a microphone that has a very distinct front and back side, and you're supposed to talk into it from the front. And so what I did, I eventually figured out, was that I could tape the front of the microphone, specifically the handle of it, and so by feeling the microphone and where the tape is, I can tell which is the front side of the microphone and that's the side that I'm supposed to be speaking into. And so these are really cheap but really useful solutions for people like me to be able to tell different things apart just by touching a rubber band and tape. Number 5, good headphones. So one thing that you must understand about people with blindness or low vision like me is that we use our computers a lot for the work that we do when we're using things like screen reader technology. And one thing about screen readers that you must understand is that they talk and talk and talk and talk and talk because what they're doing is verbally reporting to the user what's on the screen. For example, this is what a screen reader sounds like on laptop speakers. And I'm not sure if you were able to tell, but that did not sound very good, and it's also not very practical in a noisy environment. So what we do is we get ourselves headphones that are comfortable and good quality so that we can wear them for hours on end while we work on our computers. I personally am a little bit of a headphone nut. I'm what you might call an enthusiast. And so some of the headphones that I have are really nice, but honestly they don't need to be as expensive as what I have. I'm going to put up on the screen right now. You're probably looking at my Hifiman Sundara headphones, which are pretty good bang for the buck. But honestly, I've used headphones that are both cheaper and more expensive than this one. The key thing that a lot of us are looking for is clarity in the screen reader's voice and comfort for wearing for long periods of time. Number 6, voice announcement at public facilities. This one is a bit more obvious, at least I hope it's obvious to you, but when things like trains and elevators announce important information verbally, that is really useful for people like me. The trains here in Singapore do a decent job of announcing the next stop or the stop that we're arriving at, and also a lot of elevators these days have voice announcements that announce things like floors and the fact that an elevator has arrived. So for an example of something that makes a good amount of noise, as audio feedback, we have this elevator here. So for example, it has a helpful beeping sound when you press the button and when the doors are opening. And when the doors are closing, it will make a different sound effect. Number 7. Oddly shaped containers. So I recently was given this bottle of cologne. As you can see, it's a little bit of a weird shape. It looks a little bit like a trophy, and honestly, it probably looks a little bit ridiculous. But this is a pretty good example of something that can help people like me easily differentiate certain containers or objects from one another. So if I'm buying things like Tupperware or storage containers, I take note of things that can help me differentiate it from other things, including texture, size, and of course, shape. This allows me to touch something really quick, identify it quickly, and then I'll be off from there. So yeah, make myself freshen up. Okay, no, I didn't actually spray anything. This is really strong. I don't want to smell like some kind of perfume demonstration here. And last on the list for today, number 8, a good pair of covered shoes. So one aspect of being blind that a lot of people probably don't take into account is how important your feet are for outdoor navigation. Things like the texture of the floor or whether or not there's a step incoming are very important for us to be able to feel. And so one important thing that I personally look out for when I'm buying a pair of shoes is that the soles cannot be too thick. Also, the shoes have to be comfortable for obvious reasons, and they should also be covered, because one thing about being blind is that accidents do happen. You're going to kick your foot into something by accident, and having a good pair of covered shoes can give that little bit of extra protection. So I personally have a pair of Vans that I really like. They are getting really old, so I need to replace them soon, and they serve me well for a number of years. They're really comfortable, and I can easily feel the texture of the floor and other materials when I'm out and about. And so these pair of shoes have been really useful to me. And so that's it for 8 small things that make a big difference for people with blindness like me. I hope this was informative, gave you a bit of perspective on what it's like to live with blindness, which is the mission statement of this channel. And if you enjoyed this video, smash that like button, subscribe, stay tuned for more videos from me where I talk about what it's like to live with blindness, and I'll see you soon. Bye!